football tonight, which is very exciting, and Bucs game that actually matters and counts on Sunday. This is just one of the most fun times of year.
And a really exciting one, too.
And a very exciting one. That's so true. And I know there's lots to cover, lots to talk about. So one of the things that always happens leading up to the first game is that you get the depth chart released, which, of course, can mean things, it can not mean things. We've kind of talked about this in the past, not to read necessarily too much into it, especially in the preseason. But now going into your first game, you can at least learn a few things from it. So I wanted to hear from you when you saw that depth chart. What stood out to you or anything that you felt like you learned?
Yeah. I guess probably the biggest thing is, and it was revealed to us on Monday by Todd Bowles, is that Jamel Dean has won the head-to-head battle with Sean Murphy-Bunting to be the cornerback opposite Carlton Davis. And this is a little more significant. You think about those two guys, Sean and Jamel. They were drafted together, second and third rounders, and basically through the last 3 or 4 years, they've been starters for the most part. Guys have been hurt and in and out of the lineup, but you had the nickel position too, and both of those guys rightfully probably came into the season thinking of themselves as starters.
Right.
And now that third cornerback probably won't have as much playing time because they've been doing a lot of things with Antoine Winfield in the slot, and we don't know yet. We'll see as the season progresses how much they're going to do that. And Todd Bowles did say that both those guys will end up playing a lot. But it's a little bit of a different situation because previously it was more like 3 starting corners. So this was a battle to see who would get a lot more playing time, and frankly, both of them were quite good during training camp. And as Coach Bowles said, Jamel was just a little bit better. And what it came down to, as Devin White explained the other day, is Jamel's always been really good at being in the right spot. He's good. He's a good cover guy, and he's also fast and big. But now he's making more aggressive plays on the football. And in training camp, it was like every day he's making plays. But I think Jamel Dean is probably one of the more underrated defenders on our team for the last couple of years. If you look at this stat, which we've used before, but I thought it was relevant here, this is according to NFL Next Gen Stats. When he's the closest defender, he allows the 4th lowest completion percentage among defensive backs last year, and that was, it had to be targeted at least 50 times, but that's not that many times. So, I mean, there's some good names up there. A.J. Terrell's a rising star. Travarius Ward got a big offseason contract. So, it was a position that was won. It wasn't a default thing. Both guys were good, but Jamel was just a little bit better.
And that stat is even more impressive when you remember how many injuries there were on the defense last year, and that, they talk about how important that communication is among your secondary, and he was playing with guys that just came off the street, a day before they're thrust into the game, so I feel like that's even more impressive.
Another spot on the depth chart, a couple spots really, but the same guy, Rachaad White, the rookie running back. It looked during preseason and training camp that he was kind of the number 2 guy behind Leonard Fournette, but as is common, as a rookie, he was listed 4th on the depth chart. Well, they made it official and moved him up to number 2, and so he was talking about that yesterday and how excited he was, and that he had planned it. I mean, that was that's what he expected to happen, but he had to go out and make it happen.
Right.
And then also, he's the kickoff returner.
Yeah,
which I was hoping would be the case, because I like when you have the bigger running. He's still fast, so he can still hit the home run if he makes it through the coverage, but he also is a bigger guy that's a little harder to tackle, and I felt like when I was watching him in the preseason games that he was the kind of guy that found the seam and just hit it quickly. Not a lot of dancing around, just there it is, go, bam. And I think that's how you end up.
North-south.
Right. Most big plays on kickoff returns are not a lot of running around. It's usually a lot of hits the hole really quickly and bursts through.
Yeah, that's exciting. And then, of course, one we had suspected because of the preseason, but the left guard job had been up in the air, and there ended up being some injuries and some shuffling and a lot of things. But Luke Gedeke was listed as the official starting left guard, and I wanted to hear what you thought about that. And also, we had a question that was sort of related. He asked, do you think that with Shaq Mason restructuring his contract, do you see us signing another offensive lineman for depth?
I don't think that's why they did that. I think they did that because they wanted to go into the second week of the season with some maneuverability in the cap for whatever could possibly happen, because there tends to be a decent amount of movement in that second week. I could be wrong, but I don't think we're targeting I don't think we did it to target a specific lineman that's out there right now. If so, I think we would have already signed that guy.
Right.
I mean, why wait if you want to get him in here and get him acclimated to the system? Luke, a couple things about Luke that everybody says. He studies hard. He studies a lot. He's in early. He's there late studying tape, and also that he's very what would you call Ryan Jensen? What would you call him?
Mean.
Mean, nasty attitude,
yeah, there you go.
surly.
Yeah.
Brings an attitude to the line.
And on the field only, we like to
Yes,
preface.
of course.
This is not a statement about them as a
a
human.
Yeah. No, but he purposely takes that into games, and like Ryan Jensen did. And Ryan Jensen's not there right now, unfortunately. So it's kind of nice, even if he is a rookie and probably not the leader of that group. It is nice to have somebody bringing that sort of play to the whistle attitude. There will probably be growing pains, just like the Dallas Cowboys have to start their first-round pick Tyler Smith at left tackle because Tyron Smith got hurt. There'll probably be some growing pains there. With a rookie at any position, you have some ups and downs. So that won't be shocking, but I think his natural talent, his attitude, and his work ethic will probably make him a pretty good starter when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I know that the Cowboys being down Tyron Smith is huge for them. I mean, in terms of the number, that if you were to rank the worst injuries they could have, he would be up there, I imagine. And so looking at the fact that we know that this is going to be a fun offensive battle to watch, how much do you think that could affect them, or what do you think we can expect offensively from both teams as compared to last year? We got to match up against them last year this same time, and then now what it could look similar or different offensively between the two teams.
Well, it is very parallel that both teams have really had a lot of shuffling of their offensive line. The Bucs are starting 3 new interior guys. The Cowboys are starting at least 3 new people because of the Tyron Smith injury. Connor Williams left in free agency. They released Lael Collins in a cap move. So they've got a lot of new guys slotting in as well. Some of them have been there and they're stepping up, like Terrence Steele. But I think it's a bit of a mystery how well those two lines are going to gel, especially early in the season. For the Buccaneers, what that probably means is seeing a lot of what we saw a lot last year, which is quick rhythm throws. And Tom Brady was really, really good. I mean, it's funny because on one hand you look at the stats, and Tom Brady led the league last year with 75 completions of 20 or more yards. So you think lots of downfield throws, but really, as we saw, it was a lot of quick releases in 2.5 seconds or less, and he also led the league in virtually every category in that sort of pass. Now some of those overlap because you get into Chris Godwin's hands quickly and he runs for 30 more yards. So I think you probably see, I would expect to see that in the game plan, since you don't know for sure how well this offensive line is going to perform. For the Cowboys, I don't know. Last year the Bucs expected, Devin White was talking about this, the Bucs really expected them to try to establish the run with Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard, even though the Buccaneers had the #1 ranked defense the year before. But they still thought they would come in there and try to do it, and they didn't.
Yeah.
They just threw the ball like 60 times. But it's going to be an exciting game. There's just too much talent on both offenses for there not to be a number of offensive fireworks, right? I mean, look at these were the top 2 scoring teams in the league last year, top 2 in yards per game, top 3 in yards per play. I mean, look at every category other than rushing yards for the Buccaneers, which was the one category that we weren't real high on. I put the last one in there, offensive touchdowns, because the Cowboys, one of the misleading things, Cowboys did have a very good offense last year, but one of the misleading things is they had 9 return touchdowns.
Wow.
And that counts in your scoring. So that's not offensive. The 8 touchdowns, 8 defense, and 1 kick return touchdown. And so the Bucs actually led the league in scoring touchdowns on offense, not the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. So now let's talk a little bit about the Cowboys defense. I know that that's a unit that has maybe taken a little bit of criticism in years past, but has definitely...
Not last year, though.
Not last year. They have definitely improved more in a lot of ways, drafted well. So what are some of the biggest things that you think that we'll have to keep an eye on, and how the Bucs offense will match up against that defense? Yeah,
they really have drafted well at a couple positions in recent years, and last year I'd say they hit a home run, but it's more like a grand slam.
Right.
Actually, it's more like 2 grand slams because Micah Parsons, they drafted him as an off-ball linebacker, but when there were some injuries, they actually tried to see different things that he could do during training camp in the preseason.
Turns out he can do everything.
Yeah, when there were some injuries to their edge rushers, they put him at edge rusher for a while, and he was like maybe the best edge rusher in the league. And look at him, this 13 sacks, he wasn't even drafted for that. All these other guys were drafted specifically to rush the passer.
Wow.
That's way more than the second guy on the list, and he was a great off-ball linebacker. He was the first guy ever to win Defensive Rookie of the Year in a unanimous vote, and he's clearly the guy that the Buccaneers have to worry about. And the question is, they signed Anthony Barr, who's another off-ball linebacker. Are they going to try to use him exclusively on the edge because that's so valuable, a guy that's that good, like a TJ Watt out there, or are they going to move him around? And I think most people believe that they'll probably continue to move him around because it just makes him harder to game plan for. And during the week, trying to figure out where he's going to be and what you're going to do when he's there, and then in the game, okay, he's here. Oh no, he's over there. You got to find him and know what he's going to do, and that's not easy.
All right, and then we'll close with this. Joshua said, will Russell Gage be ready for week 1? So overall, the wide receiver room, I feel like this, we could talk about this with several of the guys. I know everybody's probably asking also about Chris Godwin and what we know. And then that was also interesting on the depth chart that Julio Jones was, I guess, technically a second teamer, which is kind of funny.
That's pretty cool.
How do you see that room looking for week 1 in particular?
Yeah, Russell Gage has been practicing. He was a little bit limited on at least according to the injury report, on Wednesday. We'll find out another one today. I do expect that he's going to play. Chris Godwin is a little bit more of a tenuous one. Even he said on a podcast that he went on that nobody knew for sure yet if he's going to play. And he made it clear, and then Coach Bowles said similar things, is they're not going to rush it. You know, it's important to have Chris Godwin for week 9 and week 10 and week 11, and they're not going to do anything in week 1, especially with the depth that we have. Right. They're not going to do anything in week 1 to jeopardize the season.
When Julio Jones is your guy to come
okay, we'll just throw Julio Jones in there.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to settle for Julio Jones.
And this is not any inside information. I don't know this from anybody telling me this, but my guess would be that Chris will be active and that he will play, but it will just be a smaller dose than you would normally see, just to get him acclimated, because as Coach Bowles keeps saying, he needs to get hit. He needs to get hit below the waist.
And you're not going to do it in practice.
You can't.
Yeah. And so eventually, it doesn't matter if it's week 1 or week 10, you're just going to have to see what happens in a game, so who knows which one it is. But yeah, I think I agree that you can maybe see him there, or maybe you don't want it to be against Micah Parsons, and people like that. I don't know. There's a lot of potent people coming up these first 4 weeks. It'll be interesting to see. Well, thank you so much for joining us on our week 1 edition of Bucs Insider Live, and we'll be back here next week to talk about that game against the Cowboys. We'll see you then.